Hey there YouTube, it's Brainfuse Laser, and today I'm going to be bringing you three names. One is Tomohiro Saito, the other is Akikazo Saito, and the third is Jarel Winston. Now, two of those names should sound familiar to you. The other is similar to one in more than one aspect, but I'll explain that later. So essentially what I'm going to be talking about is Yu-Gi-Oh! Worlds 2012. Something happened that I didn't really agree with, and a lot of other people didn't either. What I'm talking about specifically is Jarel Winston's loss to Akikazo Saito via time. That's essentially how he lost. He lost by time. And it wasn't specifically time. He didn't just, they didn't go to time. It wasn't an epic heated battle that went to time. He got stalled out by Akikazo Saito. Basically, what bothers me is that they were in Japan. The Japanese judges seemed to be ignoring Jarel Winston. I'm not going to say that that's 100% what happened. He didn't say that's what happened, but that's just what it seems like happened. Why would the Japanese judges want to help an American player beat a Japanese player? If you want to look at it that way, or maybe they just didn't understand him. It could have been any number of possibilities. I'm not going to say that the Japanese judges were cheating for their country or anything like that, but it just looked like they were kind of ignoring him. There is a possibility that because of the language barrier, they just didn't understand what he was saying, which I find a little unusual, because when somebody's sitting there going, even if somebody's sit there and has unintelligible noises coming out of their mouth, you're still going to wonder what's going on. But the Japanese people are kind of, reclusive. They don't really try to get involved in things a lot. It just could have been any number of things that happened. But essentially, if you hadn't heard the story yet, Jarel was calling for the judges. The only American judge that was around was somewhere else. I'm gonna link Jarel's page in my description bar, and I put an annotation somewhere in the video. That will go there too. And essentially, Jarel got cheated out of a victory, and a lot of people feel this way. And the reason that they feel this way is because, if it was anybody else, if it was another Japanese player, the Japanese judges would have been there, lickety-split. And, that's unfortunate. Essentially, the deck that Jarel was running was an Exodia deck. And it isn't the fastest deck in the world. The way he was playing it, it was a little bit slower. But still, things happened that shouldn't have happened, and it's unfortunate that he lost the way that he lost. Now, I've talked to a couple people about it, and it's just we all feel the same way, as Jarel was mistreated at this particular tournament. Now, the other Saito I brought up, Tomohiro Saito, he's a Magic player. Now, what happened to him, he went to a Grand Prix, a Magic Grand Prix, which is essentially like a YCS, I guess you could say. And what happened was he was stalling also. He's a Japanese player. He had a stall tactic. He would slow play. And in Magic, you have an hour as opposed to 40 minutes. You have an hour to play matches. But you have a 2-minute time period per turn. So it's a player's turn. You go. You have 2 minutes to make a decision. And then you pass. And that player has 2 minutes. And it goes back and forth until an hour is done. Or the game is ended. You don't usually need an hour. Magic is pretty long. But Tomohiro Saito got disqualified from the Grand Prix and suspended for 18 months for slow play. That alone tells me that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a lot to work on tournament-wise. You can slow play to an extent. If your deck is like more of a final countdown deck, or like Jarel's deck that it takes a little bit of time to do your turn, whatever. But when you're purposely looking at your cards for 2 minutes, not making any movements, not making any moves, not making any decisions, not making any plays, you haven't played anything for 2 minutes, that's a long time. 1 minute is a long time. And you might not think it, but sit there. Put down a timer for 1 minute. If I sat here for 1 minute of silence, this video will get a whole lot of negs. So, essentially, 2 minutes of not doing anything gets you in a whole lot of trouble in Magic. But apparently in Yu-Gi-Oh!, especially in the upper tiers, you can sit there all you want, especially in Japan. So, and that's the thing that I'm really going to talk about is, yeah, the Jarel thing. Jarel got cheated, but it seems like in Japan, slow play is kind of encouraged, almost. Like slow play is a legitimate tactic. Or, if you want to compare it to anything, camping. Camping is almost like slow play. You play against players in Call of Duty, Halo, whatever game you want to talk about, camping. People camp, and, it's an annoying tactic, but it's allowed, and, you just basically have to be better than that. But slow play, I think, is unexcusable. Slow play, when you purposely slow play. In Magic, I like to play a control deck, and in Magic, control decks have a bad rep for slow play. But you have to make the right decision. You have to make the right decision. And if you have 3 cards in your hand, if they're all usable, sometimes you play a little slow. But it isn't 2 minutes slow. You just you sit there, hold on, let me think for a second. What am I gonna do? Is that really what I want to counter? What do you have in your deck that maybe I need to counter this? But I don't think that was the situation that happened in Japan. I think Saito, if he had more than one solemn judgment, he had to draw into them. Whatever the situation was, whatever. Basically, I think that slow play is a lot of bull. Slow play, when done on purpose, is just one of the more cheaty tactics in existence of card games. When you sit there and somebody has 2 cards in their hands and one of them is Rhoda and the other one's Stratos, what are you waiting for? Either play your Stratos or play your Rhoda. If you have a heavy and your opponent has backfield cards and you're sitting there staring, should I play my heavy now? Should I wait? Should I play it? Play the heavy. Don't just sit there and wait. If they have the counter, they have the counter. And that's the other thing I want to talk about is Saito didn't have a lot of options. Once he knew what Jarel was playing, it was either race to beat Jarel, in dealing enough damage to win the game, or move on to the next thing, because you're not going to beat that Exodia deck. So the only options he really had were stall or beat Jarel. And apparently stalling worked. And I think that's unacceptable. So basically, guys, what I want you to do is tell me in the comment section below if you think Jarel was cheated out of a Yu-Gi-Oh! World's victory, and what you feel about slow play. I'm going to post Jarel's YouTube channel in the description below, my Twitter, if you want to stay informed as to when I release a new video, or as always, you can subscribe here on YouTube. And thank you for watching.